They never taught us this part of aging, not in school, not in life. That even after 60, your skin can still long for touch. That a glance, a whisper, a shared breath can still set your heart quietly on fire. Instead, we were given silence. Taught that with each gray hair, passion becomes improper. That desire, intimacy, even attraction should quietly fade into the background of our later years. But what if that silence was never truth? What if it was simply the echo of a society too uncomfortable to see elders as whole, sensual beings? For many, sexuality in later life is tangled with shame, grief, or invisibility. You might carry wounds from past relationships or fears about your changing body. You may wonder if it's too late to reclaim that part of yourself. But let me gently assure you, it is not. Because your capacity for joy, closeness, and deep emotional intimacy doesn't vanish with time. It matures. It deepens. And when you choose to embrace your sexuality, not as something lost, but as something evolving, you begin to reconnect with one of the most life-affirming parts of being human. In this video, we'll explore how seniors can rediscover confidence, awaken joy, and experience intimacy in all its beautiful forms. Not for anyone else, but for you. Because your story isn't finished, and neither is your sensual, soulful journey. Welcome to Comfort Corner. My name is Michael, and here we create a space where aging is not something to be feared, but something to be honored, explored, and even celebrated. This channel was born from a deep longing to offer comfort, clarity, and companionship to those walking the later chapters of life. And today, we're diving into a topic that's as intimate as it is important, your sexuality. Too often, society casts a shadow over senior sexuality, as if it's something to be dismissed or forgotten. But here, we see things differently. We believe that every season of life deserves connection, tenderness, and joy, including the kind found in your most personal moments. Whether you're in a long-term partnership, have recently found someone new, or are nurturing a renewed relationship with yourself, there's still room for sensual discovery, emotional closeness, and confidence in your own skin. On this channel, we talk about everything from emotional wellness and purposeful living to relationships, resilience, and yes, even romance. Because life doesn't pause at 60 or 70, it deepens. And so do you. So if you're someone who's felt uncertain, overlooked, or simply curious about rediscovering this part of yourself, you're not alone. This is a safe and compassionate place to explore without judgment. If that speaks to your heart, I invite you to subscribe, leave a comment below, or share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Because what we talk about here matters. And more importantly, you matter. For many of us, the stories we were told about sexuality didn't come with kindness or truth. They came wrapped in silence, guilt, or embarrassment. Especially as we age, these messages only grew louder. That desire is undignified in older bodies. That intimacy is only for the young. That we should simply grow out of wanting. And so over time, many of us folded those parts of ourselves away, neatly, quietly, believing we were doing the right thing. But let's take a breath here. What if those stories were never yours to begin with? What if they were simply inherited scripts, passed down by a society too uncomfortable to see older adults as sensual, vibrant beings? Rewriting the script begins with questioning the myths we've internalized. The idea that age diminishes worth, that wrinkles are flaws, that wanting closeness, touch, or pleasure is something to be ashamed of. These are not truths. They are cultural limitations, and they've robbed too many seniors of a joy that still lives inside them. In fact, studies published in journals like The Gerontologist show that seniors who remain sexually active and emotionally connected report higher overall well-being, stronger immune function, and greater life satisfaction. Not because they're chasing youth, but because they're embracing their full authentic selves. But this journey starts not in the bedroom, but in the mirror, in how you see yourself. Letting go of shame means standing face to face with your own humanity and offering it gentleness. It means honoring your story, your scars, your softness, and understanding that being a sexual being isn't something that ends with age. It simply evolves. Perhaps your body doesn't move as it once did. Perhaps there are losses or grief that linger, but your ability to feel joy, to give and receive love, to explore what intimacy means to you, none of that is gone. It may be quieter, but it's still yours. So ask yourself gently, whose voice is telling me I shouldn't feel this way? And what might happen if you chose to stop listening? You're allowed to change the narrative. You're allowed to reclaim your sensuality. And you're allowed, at any age, to feel fully, boldly, beautifully alive. Your body has carried you through a lifetime of love, loss, laughter, illness, resilience, and rebirth. Every line on your skin, every change in texture or rhythm tells a story, not of decline, but of becoming. And yet, when it comes to sexuality, many seniors find themselves feeling unsure, hesitant, or even ashamed of the very bodies that have given them so much. Let's be honest, our culture doesn't always honor aging bodies. Advertisements and media often portray sensuality through the narrow lens of youth. Tight skin, quick movements, perfection, without time's signature. But that is not the only story. Your body, in all its present wisdom, is still worthy of touch, of reverence, of pleasure. According to the National Institute on Aging, physical intimacy doesn't have to fade with time. It simply evolves. Changes in hormone levels, circulation, or flexibility may affect how the body responds, but they do not erase the ability to enjoy closeness. In fact, many older adults report experiencing deeper, more meaningful forms of intimacy because they are no longer tied to performance or pressure, but to presence. What does that mean in real life? It means slowing down, listening to your body with curiosity instead of judgment, communicating openly with your partner or with yourself about what feels good, what feels tender, what feels new. It means allowing sensuality to extend beyond intercourse, a hand held a little longer, a kiss pressed to the shoulder, a shared breath in the quiet dark. It also means adapting with grace. Perhaps using a lubricant makes the experience more comfortable. Perhaps different positions, longer foreplay, or setting the right emotional tone are what your body now craves. These adjustments aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of wisdom. They say, I know myself, I honor myself, I choose joy in the way that works for me. This is not about chasing what was, it's about embracing what is. Your body has not betrayed you, it has transformed. And with it, your understanding of pleasure, confidence, and connection can transform too. So the next time you look in the mirror, soften your gaze. See not what is missing, but what remains. Strength, sensitivity, and the quiet, powerful truth that your body still belongs to you. It still desires, it still matters, and it is still beautifully, boldly alive. There comes a moment in life when we begin to understand the most powerful forms of intimacy don't always begin with the body, they begin with the heart. As we grow older, the need for emotional closeness deepens, not as a replacement for physical passion, but as its most enduring foundation. In our younger years, intimacy is often driven by urgency, by chemistry, desire, exploration, but with age comes depth. We learn that being seen, truly seen, is more intimate than any kiss. That having someone listen to the silence between your words, notice your moods, remember the shape of your sorrow, that's sensuality in its richest form. Emotional intimacy is the soil in which physical connection can take root and flourish. It invites safety. It allows us to let go of expectations, to soften our fears, to bring our full selves into a shared space. And for many seniors, this kind of intimacy becomes more essential than ever. Maybe your body no longer moves as easily. Maybe you've experienced illness, loss, or change. Maybe you're learning to trust again after heartbreak. These transitions don't weaken your capacity for love, they strengthen it. When you can speak openly with a partner about your needs, your limits, your hopes, something tender happens. Walls come down, shame dissolves, and even the simplest forms of touch can become profound. Experts at institutions like Harvard Health emphasize that emotional connection is one of the key drivers of sexual satisfaction later in life. It's not about frequency, it's about fulfillment. And fulfillment often begins with vulnerability. The willingness to say, I miss closeness, or I feel insecure in my body, or I want to feel desired again. This kind of openness isn't weakness. It's courage. It says, I still want to connect deeply. I still want to love and be loved fully. You might rekindle this connection with a long-term partner, or you might be forming something new, perhaps even with yourself. Emotional intimacy can exist in laughter, in shared memories, in tears shed without embarrassment. It lives in the space where you feel accepted, not in spite of your age, but because of the richness it brings. So if the fire of physical desire feels distant, don't rush to relight it. Begin instead with warmth, with presence, with eye contact, with small acts of tenderness that remind your heart, I'm still here. I still feel. I am still worthy of love in every form it takes. What if intimacy didn't begin with someone else, but with you? For many seniors, especially those who are widowed, divorced, or living independently, sensuality can feel like something that belongs only to the past. But that belief, gentle soul, is a myth. Because intimacy isn't something we lose with a partner's absence. It's something we can rediscover quietly, tenderly, within ourselves. Exploring your own sensuality is not selfish. It's not shameful. It's not something to outgrow. It's one of the most profound ways to reconnect with your body, your breath, your emotional world. In fact, self-love can become a spiritual practice, an invitation to return to the home of your own skin and say, you are still worthy. You are still beautiful. You are still alive. And yet many older adults carry deep discomfort around this idea. Perhaps because we were raised in cultures that taught us to fear our own desires. Perhaps because aging bodies don't match the narrow definitions of beauty we were shown. But real sensuality has nothing to do with perfection. It has everything to do with presence. To touch your own hands slowly, to run warm water over your skin and feel it as a gift. To light a candle, put on music, and simply exist in your body without judgment. That is sensuality. That is self-love. According to a 2022 review published in the Journal of Sex Research, older adults who engage in regular solo sexual expression report higher levels of emotional well-being and body acceptance. It's not about replacing companionship. It's about nurturing connection with yourself, a connection that can enhance your confidence, emotional stability, and even your future relationships. So where do you begin? You start small, with curiosity, with letting go of performance or goal setting and instead listening, truly listening to what your body is asking for. Is it rest? Is it movement? Is it a longing to feel again? You might explore physical touch, or you might explore sensual memory, recalling moments in your life that awakened you. You might write about them, breathe through them, honor them as part of your identity. You don't need permission to do this. You don't need to look a certain way or be in a relationship or have it all figured out. You only need the willingness to be gentle with yourself, to allow your sensuality to be part of your wholeness, not hidden in shadows, but held in light. Because at any age, pleasure is your birthright, not as something given, but as something reclaimed. Long-term relationships, like well-worn quilts, carry layers of history, stitched with shared moments, worn soft with time, and often faded in places. If you've been with someone for many years, or if you're navigating love anew in your later years, you may have noticed a quiet shift in how intimacy shows up. The fire may not burn as hot, but the embers remain, and they can still glow brilliantly with the right kindling. So how do we reignite that warmth? How do we bring intimacy back into focus when life's many seasons, illness, caregiving, grief, routine, have dimmed the flame? It begins gently with conversation, not about what's missing, but about what's still desired. Many couples avoid talking about sex as they age, fearing embarrassment or rejection. But emotional honesty is the doorway to physical connection. Try setting aside a quiet moment to share. I miss our closeness, or I've been wondering how we can explore this part of our lives again. Vulnerability creates safety, and safety invites intimacy. Ritual can also help. Try creating simple, sensual routines. A weekly bath together, a slow dance in the kitchen, reading poetry aloud before bed. These moments don't have to lead to sex. They lead to connection. And from there, desire can unfold naturally. When it comes to the bedroom itself, consider comfort-focused adjustments. As noted by the Mayo Clinic, aging bodies may require more time, more lubrication, and more communication. There's no shame in this, only wisdom. Use pillows to support joints. Adjust lighting to create softness. Turn down the pressure and turn up the presence. And don't forget emotional foreplay, the kind that begins far from the bedroom. A kind word in the morning, a touch on the back while passing in the hallway, a shared memory revisited over coffee. These small gestures remind each other, I still see you, I still choose you. It can also be deeply helpful to explore new territory together. Consider reading a book on intimacy in later life, like Naked at Our Age by Joan Price, or attending a couples workshop designed for older adults. When we approach our relationship with curiosity, not criticism, we invite in wonder. Lastly, give yourselves permission to evolve. Your relationship doesn't have to look like it did at 30. Intimacy can be slower, quieter, more layered. It can look like laughter, like silence, like being held after a long day. What matters is not the form, but the feeling. Because love, real love, does not fade with age. It deepens. And when you water the soil of your shared life with intention, even the most dormant roots can bloom again. For generations, sexuality in later life has lived in the shadows, spoken of in whispers, if at all. Many older adults carry unspoken questions, unexpressed desires, and unresolved shame, not because there's anything wrong with longing, but because they were taught to hide it. Perhaps you were raised in an era where such topics were taboo, especially for women or those outside traditional relationships. Perhaps you were told that sensuality had an expiration date, that desire was for the young, that aging meant you should close that chapter quietly with dignity. But here's the truth. There is no dignity in denial, and there is no shame in still wanting to feel wanted. To talk about sexuality after 60 is not an act of rebellion, it's an act of reclamation. It's a declaration, I am still here, I am still feeling, I am still deserving. Silence breeds isolation. When you believe you're the only one feeling this ache, this confusion, this quiet longing, it becomes heavier. But the moment you speak, even just to a trusted friend, a doctor, or a journal, you begin to unburden yourself. And in that space, healing can begin. Medical experts from institutions like Harvard Medical School emphasize that communication is not only healthy, it's essential, especially when addressing issues related to sexual health in later life, such as dryness, erectile changes, or emotional barriers. These are not signs of failure. They are simply changes, and they deserve to be met with compassion, not silence. In truth, the most powerful thing you can do for your own sexual well-being is to name it, to say, this matters to me. To give yourself permission to learn, to laugh, to ask questions, to cry, to speak without fear of being judged, and to listen without fear of being wrong. This openness doesn't just benefit you, it ripples outward. It creates safer spaces for others. It tells younger generations that aging isn't the end of intimacy, it's the deepening of it. It tells your past self, the one who was told to be quiet, that their voice finally has a place. You are not broken, you are blooming. And the moment you release the weight of shame, what rises in its place is freedom. Freedom to feel, to explore, to connect, and to live with a joy that no longer hides. As we've journeyed together through the quiet, powerful terrain of later life intimacy, one truth has become clear. Your sexuality is not a closed chapter. It is a living, breathing part of who you are, deserving of kindness, curiosity, and celebration. We began by acknowledging how confidence, not perfection, is the root of joyful sexuality after 60. We explored the beauty of emotional intimacy, the quiet courage of self-love, and how even long-term relationships can be rekindled with intention and tenderness. We talked about the importance of open, honest communication within partnerships and with ourselves, and how shame only loses power when brought into the light. But you don't need to transform your life overnight. You don't need to become someone else or chase the version of yourself you were decades ago. You only need to begin, gently, one small step at a time. Maybe that means having a conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it means touching your own hand and thanking it for still reaching. Maybe it means looking in the mirror, not with judgment, but with reverence, and saying, I am still here. I am still worthy. You don't have to change everything today. Just choose one thing, one small act of reconnection, of tenderness, of truth, because joy doesn't wait for permission, and neither does love. There is a quiet kind of courage in growing older, and an even deeper kind in choosing to live fully, to love fully, to feel fully. If this video has touched something tender in you, if it stirred a memory, a longing, or perhaps just a sigh of relief, know this, you are not alone. Your story matters. Your body, your heart, your desire, they still have songs left to sing. We live in a world that often tells seniors to shrink, to silence their needs, to step aside. But here in this space, we offer something different. Permission. Permission to feel beautiful again, to explore again, to laugh and blush and rediscover the thrill of being alive in every breath, every touch, every quiet moment of connection. So if this message resonated with you, I gently invite you to share it with someone you love, with someone who may be waiting to hear that it's not too late, that they too can begin again. And if you haven't already, I'd be honored if you subscribe to Comfort Corner. This is a place of warmth and reflection, where aging is not an ending, but a becoming. I'm Michael from Comfort Corner, wishing you peace, health, and a heart full of hope.